What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fringe. I hope you guys are having a great evening as we jump in for another surprise live stream. I had a lot of things going on this week, and I kind of decided that, you know what, I've freed up some time. So before I disappear for the weekend, I thought it'd be good to come on and talk a little bit about some of the things that have gone on this week, and also some of the things that are going to be going on in the future when it comes to Calgary, when it comes to hot button issues, as well as some announcements I made on the channel this morning, which seemed to have very positive feedback from all of you. And anybody who chimed in on those videos or watched those videos and gave their support for this morning's video, thank you so much. The reception of that video and everybody's comments have been very, very encouraging. And I'm very grateful to everybody for their support. And we'll talk about that tonight. We're going to get into that tonight. But I also wanted to just kind of go over what's been happening this week, because originally, so Tamara Leach, good friend of mine, came to visit, and she's headed up early to the Edmonton area, where I'll be joining her tomorrow for a private independent media conference, just to meet other organizations and kind of rub elbows and network with some people. So I'll be heading up there tomorrow night. And I thought, since she took off a day early and I don't have house guests and I'm not in host mode, let's hang out with my community, because I'd pre-recorded a lot of my videos for this week. And man, there's been a lot of stuff going on. So let's jump in. Sevro's in the house. Sevro, welcome in. Teemo, welcome into the stream. Bylaw against Protesting Emergency Act for Calgary. So it's not against protesting the Emergency Act, but I'll get into that. Renegade, welcome. There goes the neighborhood. Now that's funny. Now I'll be very honest that what I'm going to talk about tonight has nothing to do with the gay community. In fact, I know a number of people in the gay community that are actually upset about what's going on, and I think it's time that we discuss that and discuss, like I said, where we're going in the future. But I wanted to get into kind of where I've been this week and some fun things as the room fills. We're going to give the room a chance for people to get in here. So I had my birthday on Monday, and well, my wife surprised me with a gift, an early gift. Well, not an early gift, but a gift that she'd been working on for a while. And I'll share the screen here. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you'll see what we picked up here. Now, anybody who knows that I'm a big fan of arcades, my wife picked up, or arranged for me to pick up. I should say, I had to do the heavy lifting, but my wife arranged this original 1982 Donkey Kong Jr. machine to be added to my arcade collection. Now, I collect arcade games. I used to do some arcade content on this channel, and I found that it was a little too much to mix arcades and politics, and people were getting a little confused as to what this channel was. So I kind of thought maybe we just stick to hot button issues and stay away from the arcades. But if you look at my background, I have arcades in my basement, in my game room, but they're all the 3/4 scale arcade 1-up cabinets. This is actually the first authentic cabinet to add to my collection that my wife was so generous to pick up for me as a birthday gift. And it's all original. A lot of people tend to restore these machines and put in like LCD monitors or Raspberry Pis so they can make it a multicade and stuff. This machine is 100% all original. You can even see here, if I can zoom in here, the control panel. Oh, hold on. I don't know how much I can zoom in there before it cuts me off. It doesn't want to zoom in very much. Mario down here on the control panel, he's supposed to have red pants and a red hat. It's pure white on the control panel. So I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do with this machine is I'm going to restore this entire machine. I'm going to do a restoration project. And I've already found a company that sells all of these parts that they've, pulled them off of other existing machines. $25 to play, 25 cents to play, says Teemo Rich. Yes, it does take quarters. I do have the coin box down here. It is a legitimate machine. So I'm actually going to get a cup of quarters for when we play. But there's a little bit of defect here on the sides. The side art has been ripped. So I found a site that actually has new buttons, a new control overlay, new joysticks. This bezel has a few scratches on it, like the screen cover. So I'm going to get a new one of those. New side art. I'm going to get paint, and we're going to putty and sand the machine. And I'm basically going to restore it right back to its day one former glory and have a proper Donkey Kong Jr. fully legit cabinet in my home. And I'm going to replace this black T molding on the sides as well with the proper white T molding. So that was, yeah, it was a heck of a birthday. And I was very happy with what my wife did there. That was amazing. Very, very lucky and fortunate that my wife found that and set it up. And to find a Nintendo cabinet, I often say Nintendo is kind of like Coca-Cola in the sense that a lot of that stuff is collectible. And there was a gentleman who actually watches this channel that knew who I was. He actually had a copy of my book. And my wife had reached out to him, and he wasn't aware until I got to his house who I was. But when I went to pick up the machine, he just said, you know what, I'm so happy it's going to you over anybody. But he was in the middle of a divorce. He was clearing out his home. He was trying to make some space. And I was fortunate enough to catch that deal. So it's great. It's great. I'm really happy that that we were able to do that. So I'm looking forward to that restoration project. And it's, of course, oh, wait, here we go. Here we go. Seaver's in the chat. Let's catch up with the chat. I don't care who it is. Any adults working in front of any child should be arrested and charged, period. Yes. And we are going to get into that. Heather Jones, how you doing? Welcome into the chat. I hope you're having a wonderful evening as we get into what I wanted to discuss this week on this stream. Because normally I do my Sunday night chat, my Sunday night weekly wrap up. But again, I just thought since I pre-recorded a lot of material this week that I'd get a chance to jump in tonight and address today's video because it was a zinger and people, again, seemed very receptive to it. And again, I wanted to thank everyone who commented on that video, everybody who watched that video and gave me your feedback. For those who missed the video or haven't seen it yet, so I've got a pretty simple career. I do my books, I do my YouTube, and that's it. I see myself as a goofball because I sit in my game room and play video games. I hang out with my kids. I'm a full-time dad. I don't really see myself doing anything other than what I currently do. And last week, I was approached by some higher ups within the city that are on council, that have connections to other important people in the city that deal, I don't want to say important, I should say that deal in politics, that deal in similar views to what I have, that work within the voting system. And I had sent out a tweet at the beginning of March to Calgary Mayor Jyoti Gondek saying that I don't agree with what she's doing in this town. I don't agree with her woke standpoints on things. I don't agree with a lot of her policy. And that I jokingly said, maybe I should run for mayor and clean up this town. So these gentlemen approached me and asked if I was serious and if I would like to take a stand for this town. They kind of felt that with the reception that my first project had garnered with how the Prime Minister stole freedom, that my presence on social media, whether it be with Twitter, my YouTube, which again, they're very small in my mind, they see it as a win. They said, you know, we'd like to see you come out and we need more people with these views running in council. But if you're serious about running for mayor, we could sit down and talk about that. So I've now been poised. Now that's just the Cliff Notes version. There was a lot we discussed on the phone. We discussed a lot about what I would like for this city, what I would like to do for this city if I was theoretically ever in that position. Now, do I think that I stand a snowball's chance in hell of winning an election? I don't think so. And I only say that because to me, For me to step up and say, "Hey, everyone, I'm going to be mayor of this town," it feels very vain. And I know I said that in the video. And you do have to have a degree of confidence. And I'm not saying I don't have confidence to take on that challenge. I just think that it's a double-sided coin, because I said to my wife, usually the people who run for mayor are lawyers or accountants or home developers or people that have degrees in multiple aspects, whether it be finance or planning or engineering or things like that. And again, I'm just a guy who writes books and hangs out in his basement. But that's what my wife was saying when I was talking to her about it. She says, maybe that's what this city needs. Maybe this city needs someone to run who at one point, very recently, was living check to check. Somebody who knows what it's like to decide, do I buy my groceries or pay my utility bills? Somebody who has seen the homeless struggling face to face, and people with medical conditions struggling up close and personal, and hearing their gripes. How do we fix that? How do we handle that? The problem with being the mayor of Calgary is that it's not a one person job. You don't just go in and pass your bills. You have to have the approval of council. So you're just essentially you're one vote, but you're the most influential, I would think, vote of that process. Let's jump in on the chat here. Snatch, how you doing, man? It's great to see you tonight. It's great to see you, Snatch. Thanks for coming in, man. Great power comes no responsibility. The degrees are part of the problem. And that's, again, what my wife said, was maybe that is part of the issue. If you don't run for mayor, Freedom Honey's pager will. I really think, and welcome in, Mike. I think I'm gonna. Maybe this is like a formal announcement that so long as I can get everything running with these gentlemen I spoke with, or independently, one way or another, if I can secure the nomination, I think I'm going to. I think that's what I'm saying. I think this is me not beating around the bush anymore. The comments today, the support, a lot of people from the Calgary area that said they'd vote, and they'd be happy to see that. They think that that's what the city needs. Tells me enough that it's not a vanity project, that it's not me boosting my ego and standing on a pedestal saying I'm so great. It's something worthwhile. And I think that's what we need. We need integrity. We're going to get integrity. Execute Order 66. There are some I would like to execute Order 66 on. If all councils with the crazy lady, well, they are. For president, I wouldn't go that far. I would destroy the United States if I was the president. But here's the thing. If we're going to discuss platform, here's what I want out of Calgary. And anybody who lives in Calgary or around Calgary, or if you're near the Calgary area watching this after the stream, here's what I'm looking for. I don't agree with councillors approving their own raises every single year. I don't agree with that. I don't think the raise should be given to yourself in any job. I don't know. I don't know any other job on this planet where you get to walk in and say, I'm a little underpaid. I think I'm going to give myself a raise. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with council taking their own raises. If I were to win an election, hypothetically, and if I were to be in that position, even if council voted for their own raises, I would refuse mine or donate it to charity. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with taking taxpayer money and just handing it to myself and saying, I do such a hard job, I deserve more money. I don't agree with that. On the raise of salaries every year, I don't agree with the city currently raising their property taxes every single year. And then years where they don't, they go, oh, we're doing you a favor. We've decided this year not to raise it, or only to raise it by 2 points. Give me a break. There's no reason in this economic downturn to be raising taxes. And the reason that they're raising those taxes is because they want to keep doing these silly artwork projects in the city. They want to keep funding their silly little multi-$100,000 studies on things that go nowhere, that have nothing done at the end of the day. It's just lining the pockets of their friends by saying, oh, do this study for us and you can make some money on the side. We'll help you out. I don't agree with those things. If I'm spending the taxpayers' money, now I'll say first and foremost, there's no decision I could make that's going to please everybody. But I think the job of any constituent, or not constituent, the constituents are the people, but the job of anybody in municipal government or provincial or federal, their job is to work for the people that are paying their taxes and to do what's within the best interest of them. So if I were sitting in a council meeting and somebody said, we need new roads, but we also want to work on an art project for the city from a group from Switzerland or something. No, we'll fix the roads. Let's fix what needs to be fixed. Let's get some more staff in public pools, libraries, like all these forget silly little projects. If you want art in the city, and that's my other gripe, stop doing these stupid projects where you bring people from all over the world to showcase their art and paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars to do something meaningless and stupid. Calgary is such a diverse city of all cultures. There's people from all over the world who are flocking to this city right now. It's like the old saying, Alberta's calling. A lot of people coming to Calgary. Showcase our artwork. We've got university students and art majors and engineers and people that, want to contribute to the society. So let's use Calgary's image to shine for ourselves and put our own work on display instead of bringing in other people. And we can get it for a fraction of the price. I think it's more genuine to showcase your actual town versus hiring outside help, if you can do it. I think business taxes should stay low. I think that if you can't afford to do something, like, I'm all for projects and expansions and research and bids for upgrading our facilities and whatever needs to be done to improve this city. But if we can't afford it, it's the same as running a household. I'd like to go buy more arcade machines. But if I have to decide I have enough money, I can either pay my arcade or buy an arcade, or I can pay my utility bill, I have to be responsible and go pay my utility bill and say, I can't afford an arcade right now. And that's what the city needs to start doing, is they need to start saying, we'd love to do this big, fabulous showpiece for the city. And we think it'll bring more people here or whatever else, but we also need better infrastructure. So what are we going to do? Infrastructure. We're going to fix the problems. Help the people here first and then do the fun stuff. That's what I think needs to happen in this town. It's my special interests. It's the problem with all government. When you look at Trudeau, when you look at the provinces, when you look at their spending, it's always to silly and stupid things. They're Snatch. As a public official, I want to party first and pay later. Then do it out of your own pocket. I'd love to see people in council say, we'd love to do this project, so we'll take a pay decrease, or we won't take our self-appointed raises this year to do it. One thing I'd want to do as mayor is do a complete audit of our city services, including the police. I think the police need a full-on audit. Get those corrupt cops out of here. Every single one of them. Every one of those cops who's willing to turn a blind eye, who's willing to disrespect the law, who's willing to arrest protesters, get the hell out of here. You're not a police officer. You're not here to uphold the law. You're upholding what the person in power is telling you to do, not the law. I wouldn't care if I'm the mayor, the president, the prime minister, the Queen of Sheba. I guess that would make me trans. I don't care what I am. If I break the law, you have the right to arrest me. Plain and simple. There's no special rules. There's no, well, I'm in power and I'm saying that this bothers me, so go arrest these people. That's not how the law works. Your job as a police officer is to uphold the law that you swore to uphold for citizens' best interests, not for the best interests of the person in office. That might reduce our force to half. Then hire new cops, bring in other resources. Here's something that I've talked about a million times over. And again, when you talk about city budgets, now this is all wishful thinking, but what I'm saying is these would be my platforms. These are the things I'd like to work on. I can't promise they'd go through because, again, you have council to debate with, you have budgets to. I haven't seen a city budget. I don't know what their budget is. But when I work with my illustrator, some people have said to me that know what I pay my illustrator. They're like, holy shit, she's getting the deal of a lifetime. And she is. But the reason I pay my illustrator well is because if she wants to go and do work somewhere else, she's not going to make as much money as I'm giving her anywhere else. So if I pay her well, even if she hates what she's doing, she's going to say, I hate doing this, but you know what? I'm making damn good money. I think if people are doing the right jobs and they're doing it properly, you pay them properly. And if you pay them better than anybody else, you're always going to get, as Macho Man Randy Savage says, the cream of the crop. You're always going to get the top people on the chain. You're going to get the people who don't want to cross the line, people who don't want to mess up a good thing, because if they went anywhere else, if they worked for any other police force, if they worked for anybody else on the planet doing any other job, they'd never get the same pay. I believe in paying for what you're getting. They don't know the budget. They've been very clear on that. It's the first thing I would do. And I want to talk about this especially. I'm going to pull up my tweet on this because this just aggravated the shit out of me. City Council has gone out of their way. We've talked about, I had a video talking about the bylaw that they want to bring in about protesting. Now let's talk about this one. Let's actually increase this. I don't know how much you guys can see, so I want to go over this letter that they brought out. Trans and gender diverse facility access standard operating procedure. Now the words of this are very important. This isn't their protest bill. This was released the other day. I tweeted out that your children are no longer safe in Calgary, and here's why. I want you to listen closely to the wording here. Calgary Recreation is committed to provide recreation opportunities for all Calgarians. Good. In order to meet the needs of all Calgarians and to be compliant with provincial human rights legislation. Now they're doing a loophole on that one. They're blaming the province, but the human rights legislation is not for this. Customers will have the use of washroom and change room facilities congruent with their gender identity. Now, the standard operating procedure, and this is where the wording is very important. Customers have the right to access the washroom or change room area that best corresponds with their gender identity or gender expression. That's the key one. Regardless of their sex assigned at birth. So what this means is, as of now, you cannot have any kind of gripe if you go to a public pool and you send your 10-year-old daughter into a change room and she comes out saying there was a guy waving his wang in my face in the change room. There's no procedure or certification or documents or anything. I could show up dressed like this at a swimming pool, walk in the door in Calgary and say, I am a woman. I could have not shaved for 3 weeks and say, I am a woman. I feel like a woman today. I'm going to go and change in the women's change room because I'm a sicko. And I walk into the women's change room and stand there and stare at a bunch of naked women changing and their kids. The city of Calgary has now said this is because of the provincial human rights legislation. The provincial human rights legislation does not say you've got the right to go into a change room and wave your genitals in front of children. Now it says here, if any individual is not comfortable in the gender-specific change room, they may access a private space if one is available, or speak to front counter staff about other suitable alternatives. Now, a suitable alternative to me would be, well, then you can leave. And it's only if another one was available. So here's my question. When you go to these swimming pools, when you go to gyms, when you go anywhere that has a change room or public washroom, they have a men's washroom, they have a women's washroom, and they have a family washroom. Why can't they make a trans washroom? Strictly for people who identify differently. And if people wish to go in there and risk the exposure of being around somebody of the opposite gender, it is their choice. But there are no children permitted in those areas. Like, that's what I'm failing to understand here. And that's where people say, well, you're a phobe, you're phobic. This has nothing to do with being phobic. Kids should not. Look, my daughter is 9 years old. I don't change in front of her. It's inappropriate. She does not need to be seeing the male body, the male form, especially mine. but I digress. Kids don't need to be exposed to this. The city is so up on this right now. It is so important that we have to be inclusive and we have to allow this. You're saying that people so the wording is so critical here, that it's the change room area that best corresponds with their gender identity or gender expression. That's the key one, gender expression, regardless of their sex assigned at birth. So the problem I have with this isn't trans. The problem I have is pedophiles. Any creep that's into kids now has a free pass to walk into any of these facilities and just say, yep, this is how I identify. Let me in. Let me in. How do we know they're not sex offenders? How do we know they don't have a criminal record for this shit? It's ridiculous. If I ran for mayor and was elected mayor, this would be out the window instantly. Instantly. And if council wanted to say, well, we're not going to vote in favor of that, I would make it very loud and very clear on a daily basis how sick, disgusting, and twisted each person who stood behind this bill was, that they're harboring pedophiles. Harboring pedophiles. Now, down here, they have their terminology. Gender identity is linked to a person's sense of self. Meaning, again, I can walk in and just say, yeah, I'm a woman. And in I go. Particularly the sense of being male, female, both, or neither. A person's gender identity may be different from their sex assigned at birth. Self-identification is the sole determinant of an individual's gender identity. It's got transgender, which I don't want to focus on that one, because here's the other one, gender expression. How a person publicly presents or expresses their gender, including but not limited to dress, hair, makeup, body language, voice, and choice of name or pronoun. So it's choice of name or pronoun. And Angela, welcome into the stream. You hit the nail on the head. Their feelings trump reality. Facts don't care about your feelings. That's the way of the world. Instaphobe. Yeah. Trans don't need their own change room. They should go where they belong. Men's change rooms. Well, and that's the other thing. I don't see any women wanting to go into the men's change room. This is men going into women. Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest here. Big problem with that. And I've said a million times, I don't care what your sexuality preference is. I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you identify as a moose. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own fucking home. Leave kids out of it. That's all I'm asking. Don't harm anybody. So we did a little digging. Actually, some people on Twitter did a little digging. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is another one I tweeted out in Three Hills, Alberta. Gender neutral swim. Come for a safe, judgment-free space to swim and have fun. Change rooms will be gender neutral. So, as soon as there's this renegade, I'm an attack helicopter. Yeah. As soon as I posted this, there's somebody in this tweet that I'm trying to see if I can find it, that said I'm in the LGBT community and I hate this. I can't find it. I'm not going to waste time on it, but all that's different from this, it has nothing to do with them swimming in the pool. It says it right here. Change rooms will be gender neutral. There's nothing phobic about all going swimming in a pool together. Men, women, and children, yeah, you can go hang out in a pool. You can do whatever you want. But the big thing of this event is change rooms will be gender neutral. So why don't they just put, hey, pedophiles, hey, creeps, you want to come look at naked kids? Free and open pass. Come on in. From 11:30 to 1 p.m. on April 23rd. An hour and a half. That's a pretty short event. I guess so that they can all cram into the change rooms at 11:30 and get their jollies off and then hang out in the pool for 20 minutes and then rush back into the change rooms again for their second show. Right? Disgusting. As we go up the list, here's what I found out from a tweet. Here's Queen Lizard People, our mayor with her disgusting smile. I understand it now. This is a very emotional and personal issue for the worship mayor. Her kid is non-binary, so she wants more messed up and confused kids like hers. This is disgusting and very poor leadership. Stay in your lane, transit and safety, not grooming. And I agree. Now, Theo Fleury posted today a petition to remove the mayor from city council. A new bylaw proposed in Calgary would allow voters to petition to remove the mayor and city councilors. I couldn't agree more with this. I think this is what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen in this town. Get rid of her. Get rid of all of them. They're all creeps. They're all harboring pedos. So she's bringing her personal life into the city and saying, if my kid is non-binary, then I have to change all these laws to suit my kids so that I can be a hero at home. So that I can virtue signal and say, look what I did for my children and any member of their community. It has nothing to do with policy. She is nuts. She's an absolute space case. They tried to... I just want to catch up on the chat here. People need to understand this is part of a bigger agenda, the Marxist agenda to remove all reality and morality. Yes, absolutely. So a few years ago in Calgary, they tried to do a nude swim at one of the Calgary leisure centers. And I remember that hitting the news. Global News covered it, CTV covered it, and they were outraged. It was a no clothing swim, and children were permitted to come in with their families, and everybody was allowed to go swimming naked. And again, everyone said, this is for the purpose of grooming children. This is so people can look at naked kids. It has nothing to do with adults. And the event was canceled. And they tried to move it to another facility where they said children are no longer permitted. And I believe they still canceled that one. What happened to that outrage? Why was that called out and this, which is the same bloody thing, allowed? Well, because our virtue signaling mayor. My kid fell victim to this gender stuff for a while. It was horrible. Most of these kids are pretty desperate or depressed and insecure. It's nice for them to kind of hang around other kids going through it too. I get that. So I've talked about that before on this channel where my nephew went to school and a boy asked him out. And his teacher told him, you're phobic if you don't say yes. So when I seen him, he was about 2 weeks into this. He hadn't done anything with this kid. They hung out a couple times. Like, I think they played some video games together or something. Like, he was 16 years old. And he said to me, so I think I'm gay now. And I said, what makes you say that? Because he didn't really show any kind of inclination that he may be a part of that community. So I just kind of said, well, that's a surprise. Um, have you known this for a while? And he just said, well, no. And then he told me, my teacher said I'm phobic if I don't go out with this guy. And I said, that doesn't mean you're gay. And he says, well, but then I'm phobic. And I said, no, you're not. And I said, can I ask you an honest question? Yes. Do you want to have any kind of sexual interaction with this kid? No. He says he tried to hold my hand and I got weirded out by it. And I said, okay, so you're not gay. That's that, tell this kid you're not interested. And it's not because the teacher said you're phobic if you don't, it's because you're leading him on. You're leading this poor kid on who is gay, who thinks that he's with somebody who's genuinely interested in him, who's not, only because the teacher threatened him. It's ridiculous. The way they do these things. She's fine now. It was really hard. I'm glad. I'm glad she's fine. I'm glad. My niece decided she was a boy for about 6 months, then discovered being male didn't solve any of her problems. Switch back. Oh, there you go. I saw you say the other day that someone in Twitter was bullying your family. What were they doing? I'm not going to get into that. I'm not getting into drama on the channel. Let's move on from that. I don't talk drama on the channel. We'll talk about issues, political issues, things like that. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned it. You know what it was? It came up in discussion and I probably shouldn't even talked about it because what I do on my Twitter should just remain my business. I really don't. You know what the problem is that you give an explanation for something and you got 10 other people saying, you have no right to say that or you shouldn't do that. And then I get people retweeting and saying that, you know what, guys, just understand that if I do anything on my Twitter, it's because I've made a call on it. And I'm just not going to address that shit anymore. So nothing to be mean against Moonlight Freedom Beaver for asking the question. You got to understand, I'm just past all that. I just don't want to. I probably shouldn't have brought it up. Moving along. Start campaigning. You'd make a great mayor, clean up the town for good. I appreciate that. And again, folks, anybody who watched that video this morning, the discussions I've been having with these folks in politics that are within council, that work within the city. And again, I don't want to name people because some of them may or may not be known on here. And I don't know if they want me mentioning this stuff until we solidify things. So I have been approached by, if I were to say some of those names, people would know who they were. They're not convoy people. They work within the city or I'll say provincial government. And I'll leave it at that. But we've had those talks and I was at a crossroads because like I said in the video, to me, it felt very vain to come forward and say, I think I should be mayor. I'm not a person that really, I know a lot of people say otherwise because when I run this channel, I run it about my opinions, but I'm not somebody who wants to be on a pedestal. I have really bad social anxiety. I have to medicate for constantly. I have good days and bad days. And I really have to debate, is this something I can deal with while trying to put myself in the spotlight as a mayor? Because I'm out there once I do that. My family's out there. This whole time I've been writing books about the prime minister and worried about attacks coming from those things. I've been trying so hard to keep my family out of the spotlight and my family private. I probably can't do that if I run for mayor. So they're big decisions to make. I said it before that I can handle people taking shots at me all day because I really don't care. You know, I really just don't give a shit when I've had people call me fat on a regular basis. I've had people tell me I'm neurotic, that I'm, you know, an idiot, that I'm cringeworthy, that I don't care. I really don't care because I don't know you from a hole in the wall and I'm not here to please anybody. And if I don't know you personally, I hate to say it so smugly, but I just don't give a fuck. But when you attack my family, when people start going, oh, there's his kids, there's his wife, there's whatever, that's when I start going, I have to defend my family. I have to stand up for them. I don't want people talking smack about them because they're not the ones involved in this. I am. So it is a big decision. And I will move forward with that. Um, I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to run. I've talked. My wife wants me to run. I had a very long discussion with Tamara when she was here this week because she was affiliated with a political party before the Freedom Convoy, before all of her protests. She was going to run in politics, and I kind of asked her opinion on, is this something you think I should do? Because you've been around these kind of people. Like, is this really me? And she was all for it. She said, I'll help. I'll do whatever I can. Jump in. I didn't think I'd get this kind of support from people, and I'm a little overwhelmed with it. It's very humbling that everybody on that video, especially, have been so positive and encouraging, and even the people in this chat. The thing that people have to realize is that if I was to follow through with this candidacy, if I was to get the nomination, that's the first thing we have to do, is secure the nomination. If the nomination is secured and I in fact am able to run, I'm not running because I want a job title. I'm not running for a pension. I'm running to serve my city. I'm running because I want this place. I am a person who believes in this country. I believe in the values of this country, and I'm proud to be a Canadian. I've always been proud to be Canadian over anything else in my life. And I feel like we've lost those values over the last 7 years with King Blackface in power. Him, as well as this woke push of the WEF and everything else, have just demolished any fabric of patriotism in this country. And when I seen the convoy on their way to Ottawa, it reignited that spark for me that got me interested in this country again, that made me proud to be a Canadian. That I look at my city, and Calgary it's a beautiful city. It's a wonderful place. There's a reason that in the 27 years I've lived here, I haven't left. I don't want to leave because it's a city of opportunity for anybody who's willing to work. It's beautiful. It has beautiful parks and facilities and people. And we have the Stampede, where every year for 10 days, this city just comes to life. Everybody's in a good mood and partying and having fun. And, we have one of the largest comic conventions every year. Like, there's a lot of positives about Calgary. And I just look at people like Jody Gondek and say, you are bending this city over and fucking it up the ass as hard as you can. And I've had enough of that. And I think part of the problem is I can't sit here anymore and bitch about it, but do nothing in return. If I try to run and fail, at least I have the right to bitch. Keith Wilson once said to me, the world famous quote that the only thing for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. I agree with that. I've heard multiple people say that, but recently Keith said that to me. And I'm so grateful for the people that I have in my life, this community, everybody who comes here to hang out. Because I couldn't do all this without your support. I couldn't even think about this. I was shocked. I thought it was a prank phone call when I first got the call asking if I'd consider seriously running for office. I don't see myself as a politician, but I think that's a good thing. And I think that's what we need. So maybe that's what we do. Thank your wife for us and supporting you. I mean, look, my wife is my best friend. I've known my wife since I was 16 years old. We met in high school, and I couldn't do anything without her. Everything I've ever done in my life, I would urge anybody to just, if you're ever going to get married, if you're ever going to find a partner, find one like that stands behind you no matter what stupid shit you do. Anytime I've wanted to do anything, I know friends who have gotten married that their wives or husbands have said, you can't play video games anymore. You can't do this, do that. It's immature. You got to grow up. You got to put these things away, or, oh, you can't hang around these people. My wife told me the day we got married that the one thing she always loves about me is that I've been a big kid, and that I've never changed because I've always tried to be true to myself. And even though I get a lot of flack from my father, from higher ups, that oh, you got to grow up, you got to start dressing properly, you got to start giving a shit about adult things. And when I first told my family that I was going to stay home and raise my kids while my wife went to work, I mean, a lot of people looked at it, and the sexism kicked in where it's, but you're a man, right? So, but anytime those ideas have come across, anytime, when I approached my wife and said, I want to write a book, I want to entertain people for a living, and here's my idea, she immediately said, do it. I'll support it. I'll stand behind you. Anytime I've wanted to collect arcade machines or spend money frivolously on something stupid, if there's money in the bank, my wife has always said, I'll support what you're doing. And she jokes around that last summer, when How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom took off, I don't want to talk about how many sales we made because that's very private, but with the success that we came from that, I made more than most people make in a year in 3 weeks. And my wife said, oh, you're probably going to trade me in for something better now. No. Nope. We've been together for a long time, and we don't even fight. There's a lot of people that out of all of our friends, we're the only ones that haven't been divorced yet. And people have asked, they look at my antics and say, you guys must fight a lot, or your wife must get sick of you a lot. I think the last time we got in a fight was like 2 years ago, and it was like a 5-minute fight. Like, it wasn't even like yelling. It was just a disagreement. Like, I think you need that in your life. You need that partner that no matter what you're doing is supportive of who you are, because even if I've failed, and I have failed multiple times, How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom was my 4th book in my writing career. So I had 3 failures prior, one of which was a very long novel that took me quite some time to put out. But she stood behind that as well. But you need that partner that no matter how many times you fail, they're going to stand there and pick you up and say, let's keep going. I believe in you. And I feel that same certainty when it comes to my community here, because everybody in this chat, I can see people right now very supportive. And I'm grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I've been given. That, again, I've said it in multiple interviews that when I put out my projects, I thought, hey, we'll sell a few copies, things will happen. And it was such a big reception that I kind of was blown away and said, wow, people really like what I'm doing. And I've heard people say to me, you've made the book made a difference in our house at a dark time. And, we were laughing again and things like that. People don't realize the difference it made in my house. And I'm not talking finances. I'm saying, like, for my esteem, for my depression, for my anxiety, for everything going on in my life, to feel accepted, to feel like I'd finally done something that people looked up to and enjoyed. Like, even at Christmas, my wife said, how's it feel? Like, I didn't think about it. And she said, how's it feel to know that your stuff is under somebody's Christmas tree this year? I don't think about those things because I'm just a guy, but it's humbling to know that I can entertain people. I can keep them happy, that I can bring inspiration, that there are people in this chat that are saying, run, please run. I put on Twitter, I think I need to take Jody Gondek's office. Everybody's putting yes, please in the tweets. Okay. I hear you. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's, Yo, Mystical, welcome into the stream. Sorry, I got to catch up on the chat. I've been rambling here. Don't forget the friends you've made. I've made a lot of friends, especially over the last year. Some really good friends. I'm very grateful for all of them, especially, and I've said it a million times over, I'm very, very grateful for guys like Clyde. I've come into contact with guys like Jasper Sunshine, Mr. Sunshine Baby. Go check out his channel if you haven't. Everybody knows who he is. I talk with Snatch sometimes, but what I really like, even guys like Keith Wilson, there's people who watch my content, pleb, that they'll reach out to me and say, "Hey, man, you got to fix this, or you shouldn't talk about that, or let's collaborate on something." And they tell me that they care, and it's like, wow, these are guys that have their own careers to worry about. They're reaching out to me with advice. I'm very grateful for those friendships. I'm grateful that these guys take me under their wing and say, "We want to help you out. We want to give you some advice." They check in and say, "How are things going?" Like, these are guys, Clyde and Jasper Sunshine. Jasper's got, I think, 250,000 subs and a career, and he's got kids to worry, a daughter to worry about, and his wife, and I'm sure his days are very full, and he still takes the time to, "Hey, man, how's things? I seen your video. Maybe you should talk about this next, or you know, plans for the future and things." They're great guys. I couldn't be more grateful for everything that's come. But my husband stays home, and I went back to work. We're over 60. He takes care of our grandchildren, and I work at school. Good for him. I'm very happy to hear about that, because you know what? I don't know what people do with their kids these days. That's the other thing I'd want to take care of if I ran in this town. I know it's more of a provincial issue, but the daycare situation, part of the reason I stayed home at the time, and I don't know what it is now, because this was what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we looked into daycare because my daughter was going into kindergarten. Um, well, my daughter was about to go into kindergarten, so this was pre-COVID, and my son at the time was just over one. He just turned over one, so 5 years ago. And my wife had to go back to work, and she said, "I'm not a homebody, but I don't want to put my kids in daycare." But we looked at daycare at the time, and it was about $1,000 a kid per month. And I said, "Who can afford the $2,000 for two kids to go to daycare while we go to work?" Now, at that time with our paychecks, I said, we're basically, one of us is working and keeping $200 or $300 a month after we pay for daycare. What's the point? Right? Then we had a third kid during COVID, and $3,000 a month just isn't feasible. I don't know how people do it. So good on your husband there, Teemo. Big shout out to him for what he does, and for you for going back to work. I mean, Jesus, over 60 and working. I mean, they don't make it easy for people to retire. But congratulations and props. That's great. I wish the government would help one parent stay home to raise kids. I wish they would too. I was very fortunate growing up in Winnipeg as a kid that my mom was always able to stay home. And when my father got laid off, he was a partner with his company selling commercial refrigeration. He started his own business, and he worked from home. So there was always at least one parent home all the time. But even though it meant less money when I was a kid, my parents were always very adamant that we want to have somebody home at all times for our children. And I was very fortunate for that. And I love my folks for that. See for a run, dude. You got everything you need. I do, and I got a great support system. So I think it's going to happen. Chippy's is saying run for mayor. Yes, I think if you guys are coming in late, I think I've pretty much made up my mind that as long as I can secure the nomination, I'm going to do it. It's happening. Jody Gondek needs to get the boots to her, and do I think I can do it? I don't know, but I'd rather take the chance and find out. And God forbid if I become the mayor, but I would do everything in my power. Like I said, I can't guarantee that everything you do is going to please everybody, but Jesus Christ, I do what I think is best for the city. Fuck the woke and forget these stupid policies. We live near a C train station, and my wife walks down there every morning to take the train downtown for work. And there's homeless people having bonfires in the shelter at the train station, shooting up in the mornings and trying to stay warm. But it's a huge issue. People are getting accosted. The mayor 2 weeks ago was worried about Christine Anderson getting a white cowboy hat. She's not handling the issue with homeless people. She's worried about people waving their dicks in people's faces in change rooms more than the homeless. Can't do that. I think what I'm going to do is reach out to Pastor Art Pulowski, who was arrested during COVID. I know he was running provincially, but He's got some connections to this city, and I'd like to get his 2 cents. And I've met with him, so I think I'm going to reach out to him, see if he's got any resources I could use to secure that nomination. Because I think it's only 100 signatures you need or something like that to get started. But I think I'm going to do it. Yeah, I think that's official. This is an official announcement. Let's just say, fuck it, official announcement. There, I'm running in the next election if possible. It's done. So anybody coming in late, if they say I think you should run, somebody just type in the chat he is. There we go. Moonlight Freedom Beaver, I love your books. I love my books too. Thank you. I'm glad you love my books. Speaking of those, I'm working on a new one. I reached out to my illustrator today and asked when she wants to get back on the horse and think about books. I'd mentioned before we were going to do something about the groomers. We were going to do a book about, Epstein and Bill Cosby and all these folks. I think that can wait, because with this Chinese election interference and everything going on, I want to take one more punch at Trudeau. And I've got an idea to do a parody of Green Eggs and Ham with just about every gaffe against the Prime Minister. No more Freedom Convoy stuff, all Justin Trudeau. No other politicians, just him. I just want to cut him off at the knees and do one more punch at him. And I think I was going to call it, I don't know what you guys think of a title, but I was trying to think of something that goes with Green Eggs and Ham. So I was talking to my buddy Snatch earlier, and I said green taxes and scams. Green tax and scams. We were going to talk about things like, the carbon taxes and all the scandals that he's going through. But we're going to have some is there okay. Yeah, Moonlight, I already mentioned I'm not going to address that stuff. I'm not talking about other channels. So we'll move on. I just know if you mention it again, I'm just going to ignore I'm not even going to acknowledge them, and comments like that, folks. They're out of this channel. I'm not going to ban people or not. I'm just saying I won't acknowledge. So just so you know, and it's nothing against asking the question. I'm just staying away from the drama. Been playing Skyrim. So sad I missed this. Skyrim. Angry Canadian, welcome into the stream. I used to be an adventurer in Skyrim, and then I took an arrow in the knee. So I don't play anymore. But damn, I love some sweet rolls. God, that game's been so overplayed. When did that game come out? 2011? That game's 12, 13 years old now? 12 years old. It's, anyway, as we move forward, I'm very grateful for everybody who comes out. And again, I know this was a little bit of a stream kind of stroking my ego talking about a mayoral race, but rest assured that if that campaign goes through, YouTube content will still be going on as regularly scheduled. Books will still be in the works as regularly scheduled. None of that stuff is going to take a hit. Maybe it just means more live streams as we run campaigns. Who knows? Speaking of campaigns, I tweeted out today, we covered this Dennis Ram gentleman who's running for the NDP in Calgary for the provincial election, who, if you haven't seen the video on Twitter, the TikTok video, it went viral, of him laughing in a woman's face while she said that she lost her kids during the lockdowns. She was talking about the vaccine. Now, she wasn't saying the vaccine killed her kids. I believe her kids died of drug overdose as a result of depression in the lockdowns. And he stood there smiling and bobbing his head the entire time. I put out about a 15-minute video showcasing everything that we'd seen in the video, everything that we had seen in my posts about him. He went up and reported it. Now, this gentleman is a lawyer. I'm assuming he's the one who reported it, but it was reported for bullying and harassment. And I was struck on my channel and it was removed. So unfortunately, that video is not there, but Dennis Ram at DRAMYYC basically went on a blocking spree. Anybody who questioned that video, he blocked, removed, he shut off his comments on his page. He's kind of putting the boots to anybody who goes after him. which tells you a lot. These are guys who want to run your lives in this province. They want a seat and get a paycheck out of taxpayers' dimes to tell you to stay in your house and to shut up and take the poke. And I think it's disgusting. And Angela says it too. The video was disgusting. I'm not a fan. I'll have to watch the rerun. I wish I would have been here. Feel free. Jerry coming in. Run for mayor. Please do not stop writing your books. Yes, I'm going to run if I can get the nomination secured. I'm not sure of the process because I still have yet to take a meeting with these guys that reached out about running. So as soon as I can get that organized and get all the info on what the next step is, so long as I can get things running, I am going to run. Make sure she's telling the truth. Don't be mainstream media. Not sure who are we talking about to make sure she's telling the truth. Who are we talking about? Are you talking about the lady who said she lost her kids? She was with the convoy, I believe. Somebody had told me she was with the convoy, and she'd shared her story when she was in Ottawa. It was disgusting on his part. They shouldn't turn off comments. No, and listen, I've been guilty. I haven't turned off comments, but I've been guilty of bans and blocks. I don't know much about online etiquette when it comes to Twitter. I only got onto Twitter back in June when How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom took off because I went into a couple of interviews through Maverick Media and Rebel and a few other places, and they said, well, where can people find you? And I said, they really can't because I'm not really on any platforms. So I don't know a lot about people start telling me, I've learned a little bit about, well, you shouldn't ban people or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's all experience. So yeah, if I were to run for mayor, I'm not going to be doing that as much either. People have the rights to say what they want to say. And we just don't have to partake in the things we don't want to partake in. But part of being, and I've scrutinized it before, when you're in the public eye, when you work in politics, when you work in movies, when you work in news, when you work anywhere where you're in the public eye, if you're on YouTube, you're putting yourself out there, you're open to scrutiny. And if you can't take that scrutiny, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. So I've mentioned earlier that one of the biggest hurdles I'm going to have to cross running for any position is going to be dealing with my anxiety. And I think I've got enough of a grip on it that I can handle it. I think that there really aren't a lot of skeletons in my closet when it comes to things. And while there are a few that my wife brought up, hey, this is way back when, like 25 years ago, but what if something came up? I said, it's nothing that would ruin my career. It's silly. And I'd probably discuss it beforehand. So it's a minor infraction for anybody who thinks it's jail time or something. No, it's minor infraction thing. But that's about all people would have on me. There's nothing really that I've done that would have anything to do with it. It's I'm seeing a bit of MSM nonsense on this platform. Sunshine Baby seems to be leaning towards nonsense titles there. Well, again, I'm not going to comment on his channel. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, him and I talk from time to time on the side, but when we talk, it's personal. We don't talk business that often. So, like I said, sometimes he reaches out with advice. I stay out of his stuff. So, I'm not sure where he's been going with things, but, I'm sure he's got a reason and he's got a plan for what he's doing. So, I mean, I just say he's got a comment section. So I take it up with him, I guess. I don't know. I just, you know what it is? An angry Canadian. I don't want to blow off your comment. I do watch Jasper. I just haven't had time over the last little while because I've been so busy. So Jasper, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I haven't been watching your content. I just, I haven't had a chance. Alex Woods, you need to deep fake Derek reading out Trudeau's memoir. Oh my God, that'd be funny. You don't need a deep fake of that. I can just do that. I remember hearing her story when she was in Ottawa. Heartbreaking. I can't remember who interviewed her, was watching live. Maybe Viva Frey. Okay. So she was interviewed and she did speak her story. We were all teens once, absolutely. And that's the thing. This is a very silly thing that if somebody really went digging, they'd find it. But yeah, you know what? I might as well just say it on here. because this is okay. So if anybody's, because I heard somebody say earlier, dig out the skeletons in your closet. So when I was 17, it was my last year of high school, and I was out with some friends, and we were throwing eggs at freshmen. And I accidentally threw an egg. Like, we were driving in a car doing it, and my friend sped up, and it was like the car was going fast. I threw an egg, and the wind caught it. It flew back and hit somebody's windshield. Nothing happened, but they got my friend's license plate, reported us, and I had to do this thing called alternative measures, which means you don't get a criminal record. You just volunteer for some stuff. You make a charitable donation, and they let it slide. That is as far back as my history goes with anything that's a skeleton in my closet. So, yeah, I did dumb things when I was a teenager, and I shouldn't have. So I'll say it on the record right now. If any of that comes to light, that that's the extent of my skeletons in my closet. Other than that, I try to keep my nose clean and pay my taxes on time, and just look after my kids. That's I think I've been later too on a ticket, but they're all paid. What was this one? I'll get back to Dale Taylor's there. Imagine mainstream media trying to turn you into the next Rob Ford. They might. There was a video on CBC recently where they were talking about the Freedom Convoy, and they had a clip of one of my YouTube videos, and they were talking about angry Canadians. And I thought it was so funny because I talked to Clyde afterwards, and I said, why wouldn't they use your channel? Like, you've got over 100,000 subs. But then he brought up how the Prime Minister stole freedom and said they might be looking to make an example of you, even though they didn't name you. They're obviously watching because you pissed off the government. So, I mean, who knows what they'll do with me? It's become an honest mayor, and to encourage you, I can give you a good amount of money. You will do me a favor one day. I will not take bribes from nobody or any money that's tied to anything. How can we reach you? I have some great advice and things to do in dealing with anxiety, such things. Angela, you can always reach out to me. I am on Twitter at unacceptfringe. Not unacceptable fringe because they have a character limit. It's unaccept fringe. I'll copy and paste that in the chat. If you're not on Twitter, I mean, I try to limit how people. I don't put my email addresses out there. I don't really do anything like that. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, if anything. At me on Twitter. And I'm sorry if there's really no other method. Dale, I said I'd get back to your comment. It was foreshadowing when you attend a question period. Yes, absolutely. Yep. If I gave $20 million to lie, would he? If I gave nope. No. Here's the thing. I can spend $20 million. I could spend $20 million tomorrow, but I can't get my integrity back, and I can't get my soul back at the end of the day. And that's the problem is money comes and goes. But I mean, if you're talking about Elon Musk money, well, I mean, who that's a really far out there hypothetical. He's one of the richest men in the world. I mean, money is money, but at the end of the day, again, my pride, the reason I'm getting into this isn't for money. The reason that I'm running is not money based. It's, look, people get paid to do these jobs. And if people want to say, well, you're a grifter because you're getting paid, it's a fucking job. But I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it like Jagmeet Singh for the pension. I'm doing it to serve my city. I'm doing it to try and make it a better place. That comes first. And if somebody comes to me and says, I got money for you to do this, get it done the right way. If you can't get it done the right way, then it isn't something we should be doing. Plain and simple. That's the worst you've done. You're a saint. That's the worst I've done on record, my dear. Send him a $50 super chat and ask him. Sure. Yeah, I'll take a $50 super chat, but that's not going to sway my that's not. I'll take a $50 super chat all day long, but I'm not gonna. That's not going to sway me. I mean, Angela, I'm banned off of Twitter. I'm sorry. I mean, you could reach out to me with an email address in the YouTube comments if you feel comfortable putting that there, and I can try to email you. I just can't put a lot of that information out there. Snatch, I've thrown a few eggs in my time. It's a Canadian tradition. Anybody who's tied to the WEF should be removed immediately. Wholeheartedly agree. Jerry's talking about Jasper. I'm not going to get into that again. We're not going to talk about other channels on here. Sorry, Carrie. Jerry. Sorry, I'm looking at another person's name that starts with a K, and I'm swapping them. Yeah, Jerry, I'm not going to get into other channels. I'm sorry. I don't do that here. Not anymore. Suzanne's jumping in. Suzanne, how are you? I always love Suzanne's comments. She's always reaching out. She's always the first comment on like every video, saying good morning and how are you, and thank you for coming in, Suzanne. It's great to see you in here. Who flung eggs? There, it's going to be on the front page of the Calgary Sun. Look at the new mayoral candidate. All that Jody Gondek wants to do is allow men to change in women's change rooms. Derek threw eggs. Get rid of them. My goodness. Egg spectators for Derek's career are low. Expectations, I should say. God, I'm getting bad with the reading here. His egg flaming criminal career has been exposed, right? It's all out there now, folks. We're all in trouble. And that should be the campaign slogan. We can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Maybe we'll throw them at Jody Gondek's car next. Who knows? Oh, look, is that a fat joke? Is that just because I like video games, or is that a fat joke? Come on. If that's a fat joke, get better. Come on. That's always a go-to. That's so stupid. I'm going to assume it's not a fat joke. Anyways, guys, I'm going to have to wrap up the stream. I'm really grateful. God, we got a lot of people in here. Make sure you've hit that like button if you haven't already. Big shouts out to everybody again for the very positive remarks on today's video. Again, yes, as long as I can make everything work, I will run for mayor of Calgary. It's official. Keep your eyes out for videos next week. I'll try to do my Sunday night wrap. It depends on when I get back in from Edmonton, which is part of the reason I've been doing this stream tonight, is whether or not I can get in on time to do that stream Sunday in Edmonton or from Edmonton. But regardless, I'll have new videos out Monday, and we'll see what the week brings. I'm just going to wrap up with Snatch here. Would you do the truffle shuffle for $20 million? I wouldn't do the truffle shuffle for $100 million of that. But I'm sure you'd love to see it, Snatch. It's anyway, you guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and stay safe. Don't throw eggs like I did. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. I hope you guys have a good one. Take care.